Man, that's a clip from a must-see movie out today by Academy Award-winning director, producer, screenwriter, actor, collector, professor, partier, and my good friend, man. I could call him my friend now, Heather. I made it. The one and only Spike Lee is on the line. Spike Lee!
Yep.
What's up?
Okay.
How's everybody doing? Taking it day by day like me?
You already
Yes.
know.
Spike, come on, man. We maintaining. You know what? This something. It ain't something new. You know, I had my mother on the air the other day, and she was like, well, you know, this is cyclical. Nothing's new under the sun, but it never gets easy. And so
the struggle continues.
The struggle continues, Spike. How you holding up? How's your heart?
My heart is good. My heart has been lifted by seeing a generation of my young white citizen brothers take it to the street chanting Black Lives Matter, not just in these United States of America, but all over the world. That's what's lifted my heart.
It really is. I mean, I think it's a testament to this populist uprising that we're seeing that now.
Yeah, you know, I like to say, I'm glad you used that word, not to cut you off, that word uprising.
Yes.
That's the word. I had to correct myself several times. I was saying riots. It's not a riot. It's an uprising. Big difference.
You talk about words. Why is it important? Because I heard a comment you said. I want to say you was with Al Roker, and you were talking about words and not saying using the word defunding the police department because people could twist that up and change the narrative.
That's what they're doing. They're trying to change the narrative the same way as we all saw, the whole world saw how they changed the narrative of our brother Colin Kaepernick who was kneeling. What he was kneeling for is the reason why people march in the streets all over the world today. And it had nothing to do with disrespect to Old Glory, the red, white, and blue, or the armed forces. They twisted that whole narrative around. And that's been something they've been doing since the very beginning. Twisting the narrative. Were you taught in school that Crispus Attucks was the first black person, was the first person to die for this country in the Revolutionary War, the Boston Massacre? The brother's name is Crispus Attucks. I was not taught that. You know, so they if we don't know the history, that impacts how you move throughout the whole world.
You know, one of the things I like about that's facts. And if you watch the movie The Five Bloods, you're going to see a lot of facts. You're going to see that the first person awarded a Medal of Honor from the Vietnam War was a black man, correct?
Well, he wasn't the first. He was the first black person. His name was Milton Olive, 18 years old, and threw his body on top of a grenade to save his fellow brothers.
Yeah, man.
18 years old, threw his body on a grenade. I didn't even know about that till I started doing research for this film, The Five Bloods.
I love the film, and I'm going to tell
you.
you, absolutely, man. I'm going to tell you why. Because, and we had Delroy Lindo on the show a couple of days ago. Come on, Spike. Come on, Spike. Come on.
He's from Oakland. Go ahead and say it. Go ahead.
Well, you don't tell him business. Come on, Spike. I ain't got to say it, man. You gonna say it for me, man. Oaktown, you already know. Hey, man, I don't even know if they got an award for him for that, the way he played that role out. I don't know if
didn't he?
Oh man, it was great, man, and I could somewhat relate to it because I was sharing with him. My uncle from Oakland, Stanley Waters, served in the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
And these stories that you're telling are so honest. And my uncle, only been able to tell these stories up to about maybe 5 years ago.
Just to say real quick, it's very hard to get people who fought in the war, who saw death and all types of stuff, to talk about it when they come back. Very hard.
It's hard. And that Delroy Lindo's character that he played had a hard time dealing with PTSD. And that thread played out throughout the movie. There were a couple of other subtexts that were in the movie, and I wanted to ask you something. There was a scene in the movie where the actors in the front of the movie were they were all in this club and they were doing the Soul Train line and they were partying when they when they got to Vietnam, and they was just reliving their youth when they were out there.
Yeah.
And Apocalypse Now was playing in the background. I don't know if that was something that you.
No, that was a straight up homage. That's one of my favorite films. I think it's one of the best Vietnam films ever made. And that scene you're talking about, the club, that's a real club in Ho Chi Minh City. It's called Apocalypse Now. That was not a set. We shot this film in Thailand and Vietnam, and the scene you're talking about is a real club.
Oh, so that was a pay homage to it. And then I want to ask you this, like, since you was at a real club in Ho Chi Minh, how you say Ho Chi Minh?
Ho Chi Minh City, which was formerly known as Saigon.
Saigon. Were there any resentment? Was there any resentment? I know it's 45 years later.
No, not at all. The Vietnamese people love Americans. Any problems they have is with the American government. But when you go to Vietnam, you get nothing but love from the Vietnamese people, especially if you're black.
Mm-hmm. Especially if you're black.
We were up in there. If you know what I mean.
Yeah. Well, I brought this up to Delroy. Yeah, we were up in there. And a lot of GIs were up in there, and then they left. And what they left was some packages in the form of kids. And so there were a lot of people who were having relations with women in Vietnam.
But that's not the first time. I mean, if you look at history, wherever a black soldier went, whether it was France, World War II, France, Italy, Germany, I mean, you're going to have some, war babies. That just happens. Even today, if you look at the army bases in Germany, a whole lot of black Germans.
Hey, Heather, you hear that laugh Spike got right now?
That's all I hear is the laugh.
Spike, crack it up, man. One of the things, The Five Bloods is out today. Matter of fact, there's a clip.
It's been on Netflix.
On Netflix, and it's a clip of Muhammad Ali in the beginning explaining why
the very beginning of the film.
Yeah, he chose not to fight in Vietnam. You also make mention in the film that black men were drafted at alarming numbers over white men, and that we were basically being used to not only fight a war, but to rid the country of us as well.
You're not lying, my brother. During the height of the Vietnam War, another statistic, at the height of the Vietnam War, African Americans were only 10% of the population of the United States of America. Also during the height, we were a third of the fighting forces. And our black asses were sent straight to the front line. And you don't have to work hard to make a correlation between the black experience, the black and brown experience in Vietnam, with how the 19 Corona has affected the black and brown population.
Speak on that.
Yep.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Two viruses. And one is older than the other. One has been here since 1619, when that first ship landed. Jamestown, Virginia. Our ancestors, stolen from Mother Africa. 1619, we've been in this bitch 401 years and still fighting for our rights in a country which we built.
Spike Lee is online with us, man. The Five Bloods is out today on Netflix. And Delroy.
Yo, that laugh, I love
baby.
it. Let's get it, Spike. Come on, baby. Let's get it, man. Hey, this truth got to happen, man. We got to talk this truth. People got to hear it.
Can I elongate on that thing? I left out something.
Okay, please do.
The foundation of this country, which we're not taught. The foundation of the United States of America was built upon the stealing the land for the native people and the genocide of the native people, coupled with slavery. That is how this country was built. When I was in school, public school, Brooklyn, New York, we were told these BS stories, about George Washington. As a young man, he chopped down a cherry tree. And when asked about it, he said, I cannot tell a lie. I chopped down the cherry tree. All right. But we weren't told that the first president of the United States owned 123 slaves. 123 of our ancestors. You could Google it. The first 8, 9, 10 presidents of the United States owned slaves. And then here we are today. And this MFer in the White House, I call him Agent Orange. Got to give a shout out to Buster Rhymes. He's the one that came up with that nickname for me.
Okay.
Buster. This guy does not want to change the name of army bases that are named after soldiers who were in the Confederacy.
Yeah.
The stars and bars to me is a hate symbol, and I'm glad. I don't even follow NASCAR, but I gotta give them love. They have banned that symbol of hate from their events, their races.
And
this guy in the White House says that he is not changing names of bases. Fort Hood, some other names I forgot. Those are names after real Confederate hate mongers.
Yeah. We were talking
you can't, real quick, you can't show the same way that our Jewish brothers and sisters feel about the swastika. That's the way I feel about the Confederate flag, the stars and bars. And you cannot, in Germany today, you cannot display the swastika. You can't do it. It's not allowed.
Mm-hmm. Spike Lee, the Five Bloods. You know, we were talking about the Cornerstone speech where the VP of the Confederates, Stevens, said our new government is founded upon exactly the opposite ideas as those slavery foes. Its foundations are laid, and the cornerstone rests upon the great truth that Negroes is not equal to the white man. Mm-hmm. And that slavery is pretty much it's a natural order of things. Why would you want to represent?
Yeah, well, I'm just glad they're tearing down these statues in England.
Mm-hmm.
There's a statue. You have to Google for his name. Who's great big slave trader. They tore that thing down and dumped it into a river just now,
mm-hmm.
and that is because of King George Floyd. People are reacting all over the world to seeing that horrific, brutal, graphic last 8 minutes plus of this brother's life. And I really feel, and people may think I'm crazy, when he was crying for his mother, he saw his mother.
Mm-hmm.
His mother was right there saying, it's all going to be all right, baby. It's going to be all right. And now he's laid to rest next to his deceased mother.
George Floyd.
That's what I feel. His mother was talking to him. It's going to be all right, baby. Mm-hmm. When he was saying, I can't breathe, I know for sure he saw his brother Eric Garner saying the same thing. I know that in my heart. He saw what happened to Eric Garner, and he knew that he's about to meet the same fate.
Yeah. And
people are in arms, and not just black folks, all over the world, marching, protesting, chanting, Black Lives Matter. They're not even black or brown, and that's a beautiful thing. Beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm. The statue that was pulled down was Edward Colston.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely.
They pulled that thing down and dumped it in the river.
They dumped it in the river, and symbolic of all the enslaved people who lost their lives.
And they finally took down Robert E. Lee
mm-hmm.
in Virginia.
Yeah.
That I'm telling you, those statues were put up after the Civil War. They got to come down.
They got to come down. Peel them down.
Come down.
Pull them down. Spike Lee is
Pull 'em
here.
down.
I'm going to open up the phone lines, 888-742-3345. I mentioned Delroy Lindo came by the show to talk about this movie, and he was so ecstatic about it. I asked him to pose a question for you, Spike, if there's anything he would want to ask you. And I'm about to play it back. Here he is, Delroy Lindo. Let's go.
The experience of making this film was one of the most special experiences that I've ever had. It was very, very special. So my question would have to do with, how special was it to Spike? And I know it was, but where does it sit in the pantheon? I also want you to let him know that I acknowledged that it must be very difficult for him to make a choice, or even impossible for him to make a choice.
My brother Delroy hitting it. Delroy first worked with me as Westy Archie in
Malcolm X. Yeah.
Then played my father, my real life father in Crooklyn. Then played the drug dealer Kingpin in Clockers. And now what he's done in this film, oh my God. So it was a pleasure and honor to go to the jungles of Vietnam, and Thailand for our fourth film together. People, take my word. I hope you see this film. You will be talking about his performance. Also, the great performances put in by the whole squad.
Yeah.
So, Delroy, I will say this. This film, to answer your question, maybe partial. This film has gotten a bit. I'm in the game for this is my fourth decade.
Wow.
And even taking into account Do the Right Thing, Malcolm X, Inside Man, I've never ever gotten reviews ever that this film is getting. And I acknowledge that a lot of it might have to do with the timing of this film. This film, I could not pick a better time to release this, to drop this on the world this June 12th in this horrible year of 2020 than today. So thank you, Delroy. Thank you. And I'll see you hopefully very soon when we get to the other side, AC. Not after Christ, but after Corona.
Sway, if you don't mind, I want to jump in there real quick. Spike, good morning. Thank you for calling. This is
How are you doing, sister?
I'm doing great, and I'm just, when you just said 4 decades, I was like, wow. I remember being in Harlem. I remember being in Brooklyn. I remember just running around with just being a part of the hip hop culture. And when Fight the Power came out, like I remember how powerful it was for us. We were rocking our denim jackets. We were rocking our emblems. We were rocking our beads. We were just doing so much and throwing up our fists. And did you know from the time you heard that song how powerful that song would be, where you could play it right now and it's still relevant? And also, has there been music videos that you was just like, nah, I'm not even putting my name on this after your experience with doing Fight the Power?
Very good question. Well, here's the honest answer. I needed an anthem for that film. And if we remember, every time you see Ray Rahim, he's blasting something on his boombox. Now, when you shoot a film, there's no music coming out of it because it'll mess up the dialogue. So that was put in post-production. And I knew who I wanted to do it, Public Enemy. And I could not predict the future. But 31 years later, that's become the anthem during this whole thing, uprising now. People are going through the streets, at least in Brooklyn, at least in New York City, blasting Fight the Power. Because what Chuck, Flavor Flav, Terminator X, Shockley, what they did is an anthem. And the stuff they were addressing the anthem are still with us today. That's why it is still relevant. Elvis was a hero to most.
But he never mentioned.
Never. He was a straight up.
I mean, the lyrics,
Crazy.
crazy. And also, I like to say the film is still relevant. I wrote and shot this film in 1988. Came out the following year, June 30th, 1989. Released the same day as Tim Burton's Batman. And this film has not gotten old. It's very hard for anyone who's going to see the Five Bloods and not connect it with what's happening today. It is hard for anyone to look at the fictional NYPD chokehold of Ray Raheem and not think about years later Eric Garner or present day King George Floyd.
Yeah.
Now, Ray Raheem was a fictional character, but he was based upon the real life New York City Transit Police chokehold murder of a graffiti artist, Michael Stewart, back in 1983.
Wow. Spike Lee is here, man. You got a lot of people on the phone lines. Tiffany's on the line from Philly. Good morning, Tiff.
What's up, Tiff?
Hey, Tiff.
Hello, Philadelphia on the line.
Hey, I'm actually just having a flashback to when I first saw Do the Right Thing in ninth grade, and my dad walked in and said, "What the hell is that on the TV?" It made me turn it off because that was not a very appropriate thing for a 14-year-old. But my question is, and I know I've been hearing a lot about white people asking their black friends what they can do or how to deal with this, and I'm not one of those people because I know what to do and what we need to do to make our country the great place it should be for everybody. But I've come from, a very predominantly white area and have friends that are just still struggling with all this. And I'm just trying to get the point across to them about what we're trying to do here as a nation, and that is to give everybody equality. I've heard several people say, well, what if black people get into the office and then they turn and they make us slaves? Like, just these crazy conspiracy theories about what could happen if we give you equality. I'm just trying to figure out how to deal with that.
Well,
because I'm dealing with
I don't
people
think,
that
and like
aren't
James
open.
Baldwin wrote so eloquently, more than I can ever do or say, it is not our burden to solve racism for white folks. That's on them. We've been dealing with this for 401 years. But to answer your question in a different way, I am pleasantly. I'm in a hopeful mood now because I'm seeing a whole lot of the younger generation of our white sister brothers who are taken to the streets, and their energy is great. And I see they're on the streets because of LOVE and not HATE, and I feel this momentum is going to get people, everybody, especially the young generation, to register to vote if they hadn't already and show up November 3rd. Everything we're doing now is going to be for naught if this guy, Agent Orange, gets reelected. In my opinion. The world will be in peril if this guy gets another 4 years.
Okay. I think there are a lot of people who agree with that, Mr. Spike Lee.
There was a dead silence there.
No. I mean, you singing to the choir. We know those lyrics. Yeah. We wanted to let that, you're a filmmaker, sometimes a pregnant pause.
Oh, yeah. There you go. There you go. You know what you're doing.
Okay. Come on, man. We got Chico from South Jersey on the line.
Hey,
Chico, good morning.
Chico, Jersey,
Hey,
stand up.
Chico.
Good morning to all.
What's up with you, bro?
I wish there was enough time. I got so much to say, but I try to keep it short and sweet. I live right next to that town. I don't know if y'all seen that video of Franklinville, New Jersey, where they're doing the protests, and corrections officer and a FedEx worker decided to depict what the George Floyd thing was. You see that video?
Yeah, they were making fun of it.
Yes, sir. They're making fun of it. Actually, it was just stupidity. You know, stupid is as stupid does. But you know, that's the type of light that some people, you know, instead of keeping things to themselves, want to display. So my thing is this: I don't want to get too far off topic because I feel like I got a good one here, and I feel that maybe this could be put into you guys' ears that have a bigger platform than I do. Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Kendrick Lamar win a Nobel Peace Prize?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Why hasn't anybody said anything of Kaepernick getting the Nobel Peace Prize? I mean, to me, that man's.
Well, if I can answer that question, I think people would love him to win the Nobel Peace Prize, but before that, they want him to play to be able to have a job again. I think that's first and foremost. You know, for him, look at those scrubs they're pulling out of retirement and all whatnot. And then the greatest injustice is this BS apology that the commissioner of the No Freedom League said the other day, and they don't even mention our brother's name.
Exactly. My this is about the football thing. It's a sports thing, so they could always say that his talent isn't good enough. If it's a monetary thing, my man gave it all up in order to try to put to the forefront what was going on.
A great sacrifice, but I spoke to him last night, my brother, and he still wants to play.
No doubt. He still has potential to play. But I just feel that the focus gets so shifted because this man should have a job again. At the end of the day, recognize what he did. He had given up his whole livelihood.
Yes.
And spoke upon it eloquently and explained himself. I posted a video of when he initially said what he said in 2016, and I posted and asked, does anybody hear what he's saying in a different language? Did he say anything derogatory towards Americans or American flags or troops or the military? If anything, he said something about how the military has been oppressed too when they come home. I just didn't understand how people, you know.
But here's the thing, if maybe I can help you understand. It's the okie doke. Agent Orange changed the narrative. It's the okie doke. You know, it's the skullduggery. It's shenanigans where they change what we say and turn to something. I'll give you another very late example. Something that's happened last couple of days where people are saying we need to defund the police, and these people are changing narrative where defund the police turns into let's get rid of all police. That is two entirely different things. And I don't believe anybody's saying we don't need police at all. Mm-hmm. Just get rid of police on the Jeep. I don't believe that. People want a more just police.
Yeah.
People want the unions to stop, blocking for their members to be thrown out or brought to trial on charges. So they changed the narrative.
They changed the narrative. Spike Lee is here. We talk about The Five Bloods. It's out today on Netflix. An amazing movie. I watched it from front to back. So make sure you watch it. Tracy, you wanted to jump in?
Yeah. On that note, every single time I look up on some type of website, media, everyone is saying how this is an Oscar award-winning film. And I'm wondering, Spike, at this stage in your career, how much do awards matter to you, if at all?
Thank you for that question. I'm not even thinking about the Oscar. I did not make this film for the Oscar. I made this film for the black Vietnam vets who fought in a moral war halfway around the world. I made this film for the black Vietnam vets who died for this country. Mm-hmm. I made this film for the Vietnam vets who were lucky to return. I had the pleasure of screening this film 4 times for black and Puerto Rican Vietnam vets in the tri-state area. and it was one of the most great experiences of my life to sit in the back and watch how this film was affecting them, and also how it was bringing back many memories, and some not that good. There were several times where 4 or 5 brothers had to get up out of the screening room and go into the lobby to compose themselves. And my validation for this film, which is the only reason, it was the only validation I needed, was when these brothers, black and brown, black and Puerto Rican, said, Spike, thank you for making this film. And Spike, what took you so goddamn long?
Hey, man.
These guys are middle aged.
Yeah, man. No, they beyond
They
middle
were
age.
18,
Yeah.
16, 18 years old when they got drafted. And these guys did not come from a background where the father could hire a doctor to write them a note saying they have a bone spurs problem to avoid the draft, like Agent Orange did.
His father wrote a note that said he had bone spurs problem.
No, his father got a doctor to write
the note. Wow.
You never heard that?
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah. I need you to do me a favor.
He's the last person to call anybody unpatriotic. He's a draft dodger. And that wasn't on like a moral conviction. It wasn't like you can't compare what Ali did to what he did.
Spike Lee, The Five Bloods, out today. Hey, man, can you do me a favor? My uncle, Stanley Waters, served in the Vietnam War. My other uncle, rest in power, Robert Waters. Stanley and Robert Waters, man. If you could just say something to him, just
okay. Stanley and
Stanley's still
Rodney?
with us. Robert, Stanley's
Robert.
still with us. Yeah, Stanley's still with us too.
Okay, I would like to salute Stanley and Robert Waters. You guys fought in the war, which is an unjust, immoral war. You guys were fighting for the love of your country, at the same time knowing this country has not loved you. Brothers like you have fought for this country from the get-go. Like the first person who died for this country in the American Revolutionary War at the Boston Massacre, Crispus Attucks. I salute you guys. I salute you. I salute you.
Thank you, Spike Lee. We appreciate you, Spike Lee. Give it up one time for Spike Lee. Round of applause. The Five Bloods. Support the movie. Spike, I'll talk to you soon. I miss you, brother. I miss you too.
And so we got to get together, after this thing is over, baby. Come on now.
You know we got to do it big, Spike. Come on, man.
Oh, we will. It's going to be, we're going to party like it's 1999 when we can.
I'm ready for it, okay? Love you, Spike Lee.
And real quick, we're not having any block, our world famous block parties. We're not doing that this summer, but we'll be back the summer of 2021.
I'm right there with you, family.
I know you are.
Okay, give it up for Spike Lee. All right, thank you, Spike.
Love
Have
your
a beautiful
family.
day. Love you too, brother.